Taylor Swift is a link builder. There were rumors that she would get engaged. Our client said, let's give them a free wedding venue. And then we got them 50 links. That's digital PR.
Managing multiple clients or large websites? Automate your SEO with Alley AI. Start your free trial now.
Wix Studio, one end-to-end web creation platform for your agency to deliver exceptional work with absolute efficiency.
Good afternoon, Brighton. It's great to be back. I think my slides have disappeared, so I'm going to impro for a second. I stood on this stage back in April and sort of introduced Lunio, the concept of Lunio, the challenge that we tried to solve, etc. But today, we're going to take a different route. It's going to be very much more centered around best practice and ultimately trying to regain, I guess, visibility and control in the era of automation. And so very, very much aligned to kind of what the guys had previously presented. When I stood on the stage last time, it was very much kind of slide deck, very kind of safe, sensible presentation. And that's not really my style. So today we're going to mix things up a little bit. I am going to, I think there's a pointer around here that I've definitely forgotten. I would love for someone to volunteer, come on stage, and have the opportunity to win £1,000. We are going to play a game called Buzzwire. And those that aren't familiar with what Buzzwire is, I've got it under here somewhere. It's this little thing. So could I have one willing volunteer to have the chance to win £1,000 to come and join on stage? Please don't be shy. Yeah, come on. I'm also having to improvise now because I need everyone to be able to see. Please, welcome. What's your name? Everyone, this is Gemma. Please be really friendly to Gemma because she probably wasn't prepared for this. So, Gemma, here are the rules, okay? You have to be able to complete this game from start to finish, okay? You're going to have 3 attempts. You need to do it twice. Okay? So I'll pass it over to Gemma. We'll let her have a practice go first. Okay, so it's over to Gemma. Everyone give her a round of applause. Guys, so Gemma. Yeah, you can move it wherever you want. Move it wherever you want. Yeah, that's okay. I'm sure they can hear it. Yeah, that's all right. She's going really well, much better than me. Gemma, okay, stop there. The one thing that we actually missed is, I'm not sure if anybody saw, but right at the bottom of this screen, there's a little bit of small print. 3 attempts to complete the game, 1 without a blindfold and 1 with a blindfold. What the hell's going on? So Gemma, if you go just under there is 1 with a blindfold on. So if you could put that blindfold on for me and give it another go. So Gemma did really well last time. She got probably, a quarter of the way around, much better than what I did. Oh, that doesn't sound very good. Go on, Gemma, have another go.
I'm cheating.
So we got a lot further along, right? Gemma, thank you so much for joining me on stage. Everyone give me a round of applause, please. So, everybody is probably sat there thinking, what the hell has this got to do with marketing? What the hell has this got to do with paid media? What the hell has this got to do with Performance Max? Well, the reality is that this session is all about visibility. It's all about control. And the reality is, and our understanding at Lunio is that if we don't have visibility, then we don't have control. And if we don't have control, then what do we have? So let's just take a think about it, right? You wouldn't try to complete, this Buzzwire game with a blindfold on. Picture this, right? You're at a Christmas party, you're competing against cousins, brothers, sisters, aunties, uncles. There is no way you're losing to them with a blindfold on. So why the hell would you manage your paid media budget with a blindfold on? This metaphorical blindfold, we are losing visibility. And as a result of losing that visibility, we are losing an element of control. And so today's session is always all going to be about what is our perspective on the future of paid media optimization to try and take back some of that visibility and some of that control back. Okay, so in order for us to understand the era of exclusion, which is what we believe to be kind of this next phase of optimization, we need to first understand what was life like previously. Most people in this room will remember the days of inclusion, right? What audiences did we select? How many campaigns and ad groups did we have, right? They were super complicated. The volumes of sort of ad campaigns, keywords, super granular strategies, high volumes, specific keywords in specific ad groups, that world's gone. You know, the keyword mining, we spoke about keyword mining earlier, right? We don't have that visibility anymore. So how do we find new keywords? How can we select keywords? What can we do with that? If we look at Performance Max, it's extremely limited, right? It's based on landing pages and so on, and gave some really great insight on actually how we can start to begin to take back some of that control. We also had audience overlays, you know, looking at audiences from our floodlight data, taking it from analytics, overlaying that into our search practices. We also had huge amounts of script adoption, right? Making us, enabling us to be able to scale bid optimizations, changes, you know, there are so many different scripts out there that we were using. Well, the reality is that inclusion is no longer possible. And I'm not standing here and saying that, you know, this new era of Performance Max, demand generation, Advantage Plus is a negative. I'm really not. I actually firmly believe that all of these solutions have huge amounts of power, huge amounts of capability, and there are huge amounts of opportunity. But in order for us to be able to maximize the opportunity within these solutions, we need to be able to think about, you know, what can we do to retake that element of visibility and retake that element of control. And at Lunia, we believe that that is all about exclusion. What can we do from an insights perspective that will enable us to be able to exclude things that could be wasteful, that could be non-brand safe, that could be limiting our ability to be effective within our activity? So let's look at like some of those options, you know, like how should we be segmenting our campaign? Right now, is the answer to have one singular campaign and we kind of send it to everybody and we let the AI do the work? I'm not saying that that's not correct, right? But actually, what does best practice look like for your individual businesses? What placements should we use? We looked at Performance Max earlier and, you know, there's an element of search, shopping, display network, Gmail. There's all these different placements inside of there. Should we be using all of them? Does that make sense for our individual businesses? And actually, is there a more optimal way to do that? We look at the way that we segment our catalog feed. We have one campaign, one catalog feed, but yet let's say we have a SKU mix which has completely different average order values, different price points, different seasonal components. Does it make sense for us to have all of them blended into one? That's the question that I asked to you guys. And then also, like, locations are different. If you are running activity in the US as a great example, you know, you might have East Coast, West Coast. They're completely different in terms of seasons, different weathers, different interests, dynamics, coast versus non-coast, etc. So these are all things that we need to be taking a look at to try and look at ways of trying to regain that visibility, regain that control, and maximize what we do from a paid media effectiveness standpoint. And so you might be thinking at that point, okay, I kind of get it. Like, inclusion's not really a possibility anymore. You know, automated solutions, PMax, etc., are here to stay and we should embrace them. And you guys are saying exclusion is an opportunity here. But the reality is, you know, why should we exclude? What is the risks of not doing that? So let's take a look at that. What is the risk of doing nothing? So these are actually some specific cases that I worked on when I was back agency side in Group M. So around 2015, 2016, brand safety was a massive kind of growing phenomenon. There was a flurry of really difficult situations. And so the article on the left-hand side shows a case where Mercedes-Benz were buying activity via DV360, some on the Google Ad Exchange, some on the open web, different exchanges, and they didn't have any brand safety measures in place or not stringent enough. That led them to featuring against jihadist content. That blew up in the media, it made the front page of the paper, and it's massively detrimental to their brand. So yes, it's non-brand safe and there's massive challenges there. There are also risks when it comes to wastage. It's also completely wasteful, right? Another example on the bottom. Now, I actually worked on the exact account and I was the responsible person for executing this campaign. This campaign was a YouTube campaign for TalkTalk. TalkTalk were showing their activity on YouTube, and unfortunately, a paedophile ring were commenting in the comments of a YouTube video. An investigative journalist at the Times was investigating this paedophile ring and was able to identify that adverts fund paedophile habits. Now, that is a completely untrue, misleading headline, but this is the damage of doing nothing. And that is extremely scary. And I'm going to move on and not sort of dwell too much on viewability, but we can have a chat about that after, if we so please to. So what else is a massive challenge, right? And with our activity, we've talked about some of traditional challenges around brand safety, placements, display network, DV360 even, all of the other DSPs that you can think about and all the other suppliers. Why should we care about that? Well, the reality is that we are automatically opted in and buying inventory via the Google Display Network through our PMax campaigns. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be, but we need to be aware of the risks and the challenges that presents. This is an additional challenge. Can I just get a show of hands? Who's familiar with made for advertising and ad arbitrage? Okay, so made for advertising websites are essentially described in kind of by Analytics, IAB, and I can send you a link to explain a little bit more through the IAB after the session. Made for advertising websites are essentially websites that have been specifically built for what's referred to as ad arbitrage. That is websites that have no real content, they have no real consumer value, they are just filled with ad placements. Now, there is a huge amount of made for advertising websites that feature inside of the Google Display Network, the same as Meta's audience network and all of the other audience networks within the program. We have very limited transparency. Up until recently, we're getting more and more, but there's been very limited transparency around what placements we are buying as part of our Performance Max activity. We are automatically opted into them. A lot of them are unvetted. We have massive brand safety concerns and we have huge wastage concerns. So this is something to be aware of and something that we should be trying to mitigate and sort of tackle. Search party networks. Very, very similar story. Described by Analytics as a £10.5 billion black hole. The Google Search Partner Network, presents huge amounts of risk. We have much less control within Google Search Partner Networks. And I hope that, we begin to move in a similar direction to what we have within sort of the broader PMax ecosystem, but follows a very similar trend, unvetted publishers, brand safety concerns. And there is a live example here of BMW being the top search result within a Breitbart, within Breitbart site. Those that aren't familiar, Breitbart is a far right-wing news site. So these are the things that we are taking a risk if we do nothing. Let's look at PMax as well. Like, where else does PMax go wrong? And as I said, I'm an advocate of PMax. We should be embracing these solutions, but the kind of one-size-fits-all approach I don't believe works. And so I think that we should all be adopting a sort of heavy focus on experimentation and iterating on trying to find our own personal best practice. And so let's just talk about some of the risks of that, right? There's a risk of off-target advertising. The automated solutions that we've got are only as good as the data that we import. If the data that we import is not of great quality, then we run the risk of having off-target audiences. We run the risk of investing in media and inventory and users that actually maybe don't have the highest propensity to purchase or actually any meaningful, impact on our brand. Another risk here is, I've just realized that they all say one. So that's because they're all number one priority, okay? The other risk is that we use PMax for full funnel, right? We don't need to invest in YouTube anymore separately. We don't need to invest in display network anyway. That is a massive risk, right? The reality is that around 80% of the inventory that we're buying within our PMax campaigns is still going towards shopping, which is great news, but that doesn't mean that we can neglect all of the other campaign types. So we should be continuing to look at those additional campaign types. Aggregating our catalog into one overarching campaign. This equally presents huge amounts of risk. It might work for some brands, but it's something that we need to explore and challenge and iterate on. As I said before, you have different seasonal products, you have different skin tones, cares, you might have different price points, order values that could potentially be hindering the ability for a SKU to get featured. It's not that it's not performing, it just might not be being prioritized. And so we need to be challenging ourselves to evolve the way that we think in order for us to be able to drive the most effectiveness. And then finally, and actually the guys earlier have already touched on this, is predominantly around not including brand within our Performance Max activity. The general narrative right now is that we should be including brand within our Performance Max activity. It was extremely elegantly put earlier, which is that there is a huge amount of cannibalization there. Do we really need to be using brand as part of our Performance Max campaigns? And actually, is there an opportunity for us to remove those brand terms, negative them out, which allows us to drive greater incremental contribution? And so I'm actually extremely early. It's gone a little bit faster than what I actually expected, but the reality is that the risk of doing nothing is predominantly boiled down into these three core components. The first one is risk, or what we refer to internally as brand safety concerns. There are some really real brand safety concerns that we're not generally talking about in the industry. We as a business have only just started to talk about some of those brand safety concerns, but something that we think that we should be sharing with the industry. And it's not to scaremonger, but it's to make sure that you guys are aware of the risks and are equally feeling empowered to try and go and leverage some of the new features that are being rolled out by these platforms, as well as, all of the other third-party platforms that could potentially help you mitigate that. We then look at waste, right? There is a huge amount of great inventory out there that is driving growth for your businesses and allowing you to hit your different business objectives. There's a reality is that there is a huge amount of crap inventory out there as well. Whether that be fraudulent, invalid traffic due to bots, whether that be made for advertising websites, ad clutter websites, whether it be off-target advertising, whether it be kind of this one-size-fits-all approach, there's a huge amount of waste in there that actually, P&Ls are extremely tight. Everybody is being asked to drive more with less. And so what can we do to try and mitigate that risk? And then the subsequent point there, or the final point, is then opportunity loss. Something that we don't really talk about, which is that we only want to talk about the waste up front. But the reality is that if we're able to mitigate the waste, meaning that we are being more efficient with the budget that that we're spending, that gives us more to spend on driving greater growth. And so opportunity loss is equally a really sort of important point. And then there's one final point, which is actually not on here, which is all around kind of this concept of dirty data. We refer to dirty data internally as kind of three core areas for marketers, and something that I think that everybody should be really aware of, which is that if we are driving poor quality traffic to site, fraudulent, bots, invalid, as we refer to it, that can impact you in three areas. Maybe it's that you're passing, a lesser quality signal back to the bidding algorithms in order to be able to optimize for your objectives, and it's being skewed. Maybe it's about audience building. You're building lookalikes, you're building remarketing audiences that are being compromised because there's a big proportion of it that is not real human, or it's not in line with the types of people that you want to drive to site. And then the final point around dirty data is this whole concept of kind of consumer analytics. If you are making UX, UI decisions, if you're making personalization recommendations, it's really important that the quality of that data set and the integrity of that data set is as strong as it possibly can be. Because as I said right at the start, the reality is that these automated AI machine learning models are only as good as the inputs that we give them, and it's therefore super critical that we focus on that point. How do we make sure that our data set is as clean as possible and as high quality as possible? Very similar to what the recommendations have been made previously. How do we try to maximize that to maximize our effectiveness? And so just to kind of one closing remark is that regaining an element of visibility, leveraging the new solutions and insights tools that are coming from the platforms directly, leveraging potential third parties that can potentially support you in this, regaining that visibility of your traffic is the first step in order for everybody to be able to retake some of that control back and sort of embrace this new normal that we're sat within. I'm not going to dwell too much on these elements here because I'm running out of time slowly, but as I said right at the start, I'm from Lunia. Hopefully it didn't come across as that I was trying to sort of force a solution down your throat. But if you did want to sort of explore, how you can potentially regain some of that visibility, how you can potentially leverage some of our solutions to be able to take back some of that control, mitigate some of that risk, mitigate and reduce some of that wastage and increase that opportunity, then please do come and find us by our stand, and we'd love to have a chat with you. But it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.